Hello, Dan the Rare Coin Man here, and welcome to another video production from rarecoins101.com. Today we're going to continue our series on sleeper coins. Because we have new subscriber joining at a steady rate, thank you, it's important before we get started to define once again what is meant by the term sleeper coin. We all want to be on the same page. So, when I say sleeper coin, I'm describing a coin that historically has been of great interest to collectors with a relatively limited supply to meet a strong demand, resulting in faster than average price appreciation over the years, but at present is priced below its market value compared to where it's been in the past relative to other collectible coins. If long-term value trend patterns are any indicator, and this is the fun part, the coin is positioned to catch fire and rise significantly in price to once again properly realign itself with the rest of the rare coin market. So here's another way of looking at it. A sleeper coin is quiet and sleeping right now. Not done much in the way of price increases for several years, maybe even a decade or so, but will at some point arise from its slumber and enjoy another big round of price hikes. Now, sleeper coins exist because rare coin pricing often runs in cycles, but over the long term, the overall trend is absolutely up. Because sleeper coins represent a good opportunity to buy at a discounted price, collectors are always looking for them, and why not? Everybody likes a good deal, right? You bet. That's why I started the sleeper coin series, and the star of the show today is the 1894 Morgan silver dollar. Now, this is a coin that's often overshadowed by the 1893 Morgan or the 1895. Maybe that's a reason why the 1894 Morgan has been flying kind of under the radar for quite a few years now. But this coin deserves a lot more respect than it's currently getting. Did you know the 1894 has the smallest business strike mintage of all the Morgan dollars except for the 1893? I predict this is one sleeper coin you're really going to like, if for nothing else, its relative affordability. How about if we get started? One of the things I really like about this coin is, dang, you don't need to be a billionaire to buy one. As is true for just about every coin that's relatively rare and popular with generations of collectors, there's an underlying story explaining why the coin is relatively rare and popular. The 1894 Morgan dollar is certainly no exception to this. So, before we get into the value trend charts, let's talk about what was happening in the America of the late 19th century that shaped a bountiful numismatic legacy for the 1894 Morgan silver dollar. As most Morgan dollar enthusiasts know, and there are a lot of us out there, yes indeed, the Morgan dollar came into production following the passage of the Bland-Allison Act of 1878. The coin was named after mint engraver George T. Morgan, who designed the coin. In basically a political jackpot to the silver mining industry, the Bland-Allison Act required the federal government to purchase every month $2 to $4 million worth of mined silver for coining into silver dollars. This resulted in a lot more silver dollars being struck than was necessary in commerce. With nowhere to go, Morgan dollars by the millions accumulated in government and bank vaults. Eventually, about 270 million of them were melted down in 1918, but with so many of them to begin with, most Morgan dollar dates exist today in abundance. The Bland-Allison Act was replaced by the Sherman Silver Purchase Act of 1890, requiring the federal government to buy even more silver than before. This cartoon, entitled The Silver Sun of Prosperity, was published shortly after the Sherman Silver Purchase Act became law, illustrates a Morgan silver dollar as the sun, shining prosperity upon the nation. Naturally, Western silver mining interests favored the new legislation, along with farmers, who believed a big jump in silver supply would generate inflation and raise the price of their agricultural products, while at the same time reducing the real value of farm debts, thus making them easier to pay off. The political coalition that came together to maintain bimetallism, meaning that two metals, gold and silver, provide the backing for all United States currency, and along with that, large-scale silver production, was called the Silverites. Those who fought for a gold standard only were known as the gold bugs. Furthermore, and this is very important, the Sherman Act specified all this silver would be paid for by the U.S. Treasury with special paper money that was redeemable in gold or silver coinage. They were often called coin notes, and here is an example of one right here. With so much silver being mined and entering the market, the price of the metal plummeted significantly. By 1893, the bullion value of the silver in a silver dollar had reached as low as 49 cents. Of course, coin note holders preferred redemption in gold coinage because the price of gold remained stable during this time. The growing imbalance between the metals resulted in the near depletion of U.S. government gold reserves, as people in large numbers exchanged their coin notes for gold, not silver. During this time, the gold bugs continued to loudly denounce bimetallism. This cartoon from 1893 implies that an American currency based on both gold and silver is as wobbly as a bicyclist riding on mismatched wheels. The shrinkage of the gold reserves raised fears because if the federal government ran out of gold, it would have to pay its debts with much cheaper silver, leading to runaway inflation, government insolvency, and a nationwide economic disaster. Amid these concerns, on May 5th, 1893, the financial dam began to break as stock values on the New York Stock Exchange tumbled drastically. This was the beginning of what historians call the Panic of 1893. Within weeks, banks and thousands of businesses and factories closed, leaving millions unemployed, making it one of the worst economic depressions ever to hit the United States. The newly elected president, Grover Cleveland, who was the first U.S. president in history to win non-consecutive terms to the White House, sided with the gold bugs and blamed the financial calamity on the Sherman Silver Purchase Act as the incentivizing force behind the drawdown of gold in the U.S. Treasury. This print here shows Cleveland standing on the steps to the U.S. Treasury, holding a large sword labeled Sound Money Policy, confronting a silver-scaled hydra with heads of the leaders of the Silverite movement. This image, titled Out of the Silver Flood, appeared on the cover of a national publication on September 13, 1893. Uncle Sam is seen pulling a woman, representative of business interests, out of a flood of silver dollars unleashed by this Sherman Silver Purchase Act. Uncle Sam is relying on a rope called public opinion to carry him over a rock designated as Repeal of the Sherman Law by the 53rd Congress. Because the Sherman Act was blamed for much of the financial crisis of 1893, Congress heard from many angry constituents demanding its repeal. In the background is a gold double eagle symbolizing the sun, meant to express the promise of brighter days under the gold standard. The Sherman Silver Purchase Act was finally repealed on November 2nd, 1893. Upon repeal of the Sherman Act, large silver purchases by the government were no longer mandated, but in the wake of sweeping economic turmoil, there was little need for new silver dollars entering the channels of commerce. These factors caused Morgan dollar mintages to collapse and remain low through 1894 and into 1895. The Philadelphia Mint struck just 110,000 silver dollars in 1894, down from nearly 17 million in 1890. The 1894 has the second lowest business strike mintage of the entire Morgan dollar series. From that small number, PCGS estimates about 9,000 of the 1894 dollars are still in existence, making it one of the rarest Morgan dollars and popular key dates in coin collecting today. As I mentioned just a minute ago, we think there are roughly maybe 9,000 examples of the 1894 dollar existing today. But when you consider how many Morgan dollar collectors there are, that's not enough to go around for everybody who wants one. On the other hand, unless you're wanting something in the gem uncirculated category, it's not a super rare coin either, making it relatively reasonably affordable to quite a few collectors with modest budgets. That is especially true right now because prices are down quite a bit from their all-time high of a few years ago. That's why I'm calling it a sleeper coin. So let's go to the Rare Coins 101 website and have a look at a few charts. All right, so here we are at the home page for rarecoins101.com. To get to the chart for the 1894 Morgan dollar, we have to start here with this menu item right here called the key date coin list. So let's go ahead and click that. And that takes you to the key date coin list. So with this, the key date coin list is the coins that I have done a lot of research on, price trends, and the coins on this list have done so much better in terms of price performance compared to most other United States collectible coins. So I've compiled everything on this list here, and let's just head on down directly to the list. We've got the good group, which these coins have done really well, and people who have been collecting for a long time can recognize a lot of these dates. Then you've got what I call the better group. They've actually performed better over the long term than the ones in the good group. And then there's the best group. All right, they've done the best. And then I've got what I call the classic rarities group. And these are really, really good coins too, that there's a lot of sleeper coins in here. They haven't done so well in the last few years, and that's why they're not in one of the other groups on top here, the good, the better, the best. But they're still historically very, very good coins to have, and they've got good track records, and it's just that right now they haven't done so well. And there's a lot of sleeper coins here. So that's where the 1894 silver dollar is. So each one of these, on all these groups, there's links here, and clicking any link will take you to a page dedicated to that coin. So here's the 1894 Morgan dollar. So let's go ahead and click that. And it takes us to a page dedicated to the 1894 Morgan dollar. At top here is history about why this coin exists in such small numbers. We've already been through that. So let's go on down here to, we see some nice images of the coin. And here it is. Belongs to the classic rarity group. And this trend line average of 12.73. I'm going to explain what that is in just a few minutes here. But let's go on down here to the value trend chart. And what you're looking at here is the prices, the estimated retail prices for the 1894 Morgan, and this would be in fine condition as from 1990 to 2024. And I update this chart once a year, so I'll be doing that, getting some 2025 numbers on there later this year. So, but what this is saying, in 1990, in fine condition, the 1894 Morgan dollar was selling in the retail range of about $165. 1991, 175, and you can see it had a real nice run up here, 2004 to 2009. By 2009, it was selling for around $2,000. That's a pretty big jump from 165 to $2,000, and it's leveled off a lot since then. 2024, the same coin was selling for about $800, which is still, 1990, 165 to $800, but you see a nice big upturn here in years 2004 to 2009 and 10, and then leveled off. So click this and you'll see a chart here for the same coin in very fine condition, and the numbers are bigger, but the pattern is very much the same. So let's you do the same thing for extremely fine condition, same type of thing, AU and MS60. Now this trend line slope, I've got one of these for each of these charts, and the trend line slope is an indicator of how rapidly and strongly the coin is advancing in price. And the bigger this number here, this is 17.39, and the steeper this line, that is those are indicators of how well it's done. And the bigger this number and the steeper this line, the better the coin has done over this time period studied, starting in 1990. So in fine conditions, the trend line slope is 17.39. In very fine condition, the trend line slope is 15.63. And when you average all the conditions studied, that's what you get, the trend line average, and that's what's here. And that the trend line average is what determines what group, if any, the coin is in. So going on to this chart right here, this is a breakdown of the conditions, the various conditions that are studied for the same time period, 1990 to 2024. So you can see looks like the fine and the very fine have outpaced the field here over this 34-year period. All right, this chart right here, this actually charts these grades from 1950 to 1990. So yes, I have data going all the way back to 1950, and you will see there are similar patterns of what we just saw from 1990 to 2024. From 1960 to 1970, the prices went up, and they went back down. So it looked like they were peaking in the mid-1960s and then went down by 1970. And that started a new cycle. By 1970, you see the prices started going up considerably. Looked like they peaked out here in about 1985 and then fell back down to 1990. So it's not unusual for this coin to move in cycles. We had a cycle 1960 to 1970, 1970 to 1990, and the cycle here from looks like 2004 or so to it went up and then went back down. So right now it looks like we're at the bottom of a cycle. It's been stuck there for quite some time. So that's about it for all I wanted to show you for the 1894 Morgan. Now, if I haven't bored you to death already, hopefully you're seeing why I'm calling this a sleeper coin. It has a real fine history of doing well, but it's kind of asleep right now. It just hasn't been doing a whole lot for quite a few years, and I've got a feeling it's going to turn around one of these days. Before we close out this video, Let's go back and add a little bit more history because there's quite a bit more to this story. Stuart, stop it. This image here is of the U.S. Sub-Treasury building in New York City, where much of the nation's gold reserves were housed back in the 1890s. Repeal of the Sherman Silver Purchase Act stopped the influx of silver into the Treasury, all right, but the gold reserves in this building and other government facilities steadily dwindled as millions in coin notes continued to be redeemed in gold. This chart here shows how U.S. gold reserves fluctuated during the 1890s. When the Sherman Silver Purchase Act was passed in July of 1890, gold levels were holding steady at just under $200 million, as the chart shows. As we previously mentioned, gold reserves maintained their overall downward plunge even after the Sherman Act was repealed in November of 1893. By early 1895, the Treasury gold reserves had shrunk to under $50 million, far below the $100 million required by law. At that point, it seemed inevitable that the government would soon run out of gold, possibly go into default, and ignite rampant inflation and further catastrophic doom for the nation. But at the 11th hour, President Cleveland accepted an offer from a group of bankers led by the legendary J.P. Morgan, who, I should clarify, was no relation to mint engraver George T. Morgan, the designer of the dollar coin that bears his name. The J.P. Morgan Group agreed to lend $62 million in gold to the Treasury Department in exchange for government bonds as security. Well, the arrangement worked out as hoped. When the public heard that J.P. Morgan and other big-time bankers were supporting the government with their gold, confidence returned, and this put a stop to the run on the nation's gold reserves and provided some economic stability. The U.S. came close to a complete financial meltdown, but thank goodness it was avoided just barely. The final years of the 1890s in the United States were marked by urban growth and increased industrialization. Ragtime music and leisure activities like baseball and bare-knuckled boxing. The horseless carriage of Henry Ford. The bicycle craze that swept the nation. And of course, new, elegant clothing fashions. During this time, the U.S. was becoming a world leader in technology. For example, the Niagara Falls power plant revolutionized energy production by harnessing hydropower to transmit electricity over long distances. Also in manufacturing, as illustrated here by a steel production plant in Pennsylvania. And in military might, as the Navy was building one of the most powerful fleets on Earth. This era of rapid progress and change in American society leading into the dawn of the 20th century is often referred to by historians as the Gay 90s. In 1896, with the economy recovering, nearly 20 million Morgan dollars were produced. So there were a few short years when not many silver dollars were made. The Panic of 1893 explains in large part why Morgan dollar mintages for the years 1893, 1894, and 1895 were so low and are considered by collectors to be rare or semi-rare today. The Morgan silver dollar is without question one of the best known coins in the world of coin collecting. Even many non-collectors recognize the coin on sight. In fact, The Morgan dollar is so well liked. In 2021, the U.S. Mint started making Morgan silver dollars once again, not for general circulation, of course, but for selling to collectors. The modern day Morgan dollar program proved to be so successful, the Mint has continued to strike them every year since. As new Morgan dollar buyers get involved with the hobby, they quickly discover the 1894 is one of the toughest roadblocks to overcome in completing a set of this remarkable group. Collectors may want to take note of the current pricing of the 1894 Morgan because, well, it seems rather low compared to where it's been in the past. So, using historical value trends as a guide, I think we can rest assured someday of a renewed price surge. It's fairly predictable, so it seems. Well, that brings this video to a close. I want to say this before signing off. I don't use ghostwriters here on my website, rarecoins101.com, and I sure as heck don't generate content with AI. I do my own work, and if it's good or bad, well, it's all on me. Thank you for joining me today, and if you thought this video was worthwhile to watch, please click the like button. If I know viewers are benefiting from my videos, well, that gives me incentive to produce more. Also, if you're interested in seeing more videos like this one in the future, please be sure to subscribe so that way you can be notified when a new video is posted. I surely do thank you for that. Okay, until next time, this is Dan the Rare Coin Man signing off. Happy collecting!